Right, we're going to go and meet Jane and James. James, fellow northerner, so he's speaking the same sort of lingo. Third-generation tea importer. He's going to show me a bit of tea tasting. And Jane knows every last thing there is to know about tea. So I'm going to come away a bit wiser, I think.
And he's also going to come away with some tea to drink on Reckless.
Now and Jane.
Hi, Guy.
Right,
Nice to
James.
meet you.
Hi, Guy.
Right, we're getting there with all the other implements. We need to get cracking with the most important thing, the tea job. So where do we start?
And we're actually going to start with a tea from India called Darjeeling, OK? And we're just using soup spoons.
Right.
Then get it underneath your tongue, because that's where most of your sensitive taste buds are. So it's... like that.
Right, what do you reckon?
Slurp.
It's like his first pint.
As I said, it's a very harsh sort of bottom to it.
And slightly bitter.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
drying.
Yeah, sort of
dries your mouth out a little bit.
But there's a softness to the top of it. There's this lovely, almost grapey sort of taste. They actually call this the champagne of teas.
The champagne of teas.
Yes.
So, Jane, this tea tasting caper has been going on since we've been importing tea.
Yes, we started bringing tea in from China in the late 1650s.
Yeah.
And it was sold by brokers. They gradually developed this business of brewing comparatively with bowls and cups and then slurping it so that they knew exactly what the tea was worth and what they could charge for it. But back in those days, when we imported tea from China, the first teas were so expensive that it was only drunk by royalty and aristocrats. It was, you and I would not have been drinking tea in those days. So the servant's only job was just to arrange the furniture and bring all the bits and bobs that you needed. But then the lady of the house took charge of the tea, and the tea was stored in the room where you were going to drink it. Because it was so expensive that if you left it in the kitchen, there was a pretty good chance your servants would start pilfering it for themselves.
Just ready to tip this one.
What's the next brew we're having then?
We're having some green tea next.
Green tea?
Yeah, it's called gunpowder.
Gunpowder?
Yeah.
Each leaf is hand-rolled into a little pellet.
Each one of those is done by hand?
Yeah. And when the sailors were offloading the chests of tea in the London docks, it said that they thought it was lead shot and they refused to handle the chest because they thought it might explode.
That was like seaweed, doesn't it?
Told you.
Hey?
Told you.
Yeah. Was that a proper slip?
Yeah.
I've got a lot to learn.
many times.
I've got a lot to learn.
A bit strong for Guy, that one, especially as he's looking for a good solid tea break tea.
Well, this is a tea
Maestro
from
first.
Sri Lanka, then.
It is, yes.
And it was during the Industrial Revolution that the workers' tea break came about.
You found that some employers who were kind-hearted and benevolent actually thought, oh, my workers could do with a cup of tea as well.
Yeah.
So they would actually provide the tea and a room where they could drink it, and that was the beginning of the tea break.
Amid copious slurping all round, Guy's search for the perfect tea break tea continues.
That's a great slurp. If ever the bottom falls out of biking, just come,
Do you think?
give me a ring.
Bit of tea slurping.
And it appears tea can do much more than just wet your whistle. One of the first tea merchants in Britain, Thomas Garraway, published a broadsheet about the health benefits of tea.
He said it was good for your stomach, if you had stomach disorders, if you had skin problems, scurvy. All would respond well to
scurvy. I'm always,
drinking tea.
always trouble with scurvy.
Now, we now know, having conducted 25, 30 years of research, that if you drink plenty of tea, it can actually keep Alzheimer's at bay.
Is that right?
And that's to do with memory.
Oh, my
of
word, I
course.
have memory like an elephant.
This is the blended tea.
Blend, now go on. Right.
Like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah,
I'm
it's got a
honest.
bit more about it. It's a bit more up about it. And I think, well, sat down and to chill out, that's a bit of me, yeah.
With blended tea in his pocket, Guy heads back to the foundry. The furnace is getting ever closer to producing liquid metal. But for that liquid metal to be turned into a cooking pot, there's one last process they need to master with the help of self-taught expert Colin Peck.
Hello, Jerry. Nice to see you, mate.
Green sand casting. Green sand means damp sand. When you compact it, you can form it into any shape you want. The inside of Guy and Maeve's boiling pot, for example.
What do we got? A little bit firmer than that. Work your ways into your corners.
Green sand casting was another British invention, patented by that man Abraham Darby at the start of the 1700s. Green sand was cheap and you could use it over and over again. And with it, large-scale production of cast-iron objects like bridges, steam engines, and even girders to build factories and aqueducts began.
Give it a little more effort than that.
The boys make the green sand mould for their pot in 4 separate sections.
OK, that'll do us nicely.
Where to now?
But one slip as they put the sections together and the mould will be wrecked.
No messing.
Once the parts are all joined, they leave a pot-shaped gap between them, into which the boys will hopefully pour their molten iron.
Well done you. Well done you.
But it won't be until they break the mould apart at the end that they'll discover if what they've made is good enough. After days of work, it's time to break open the clay seal at the base of the furnace. As Guy stands ready to release the liquid iron, Colin moves into place with a red-hot crucible heated in his own mobile furnace, ready to catch the boys' precious metal.
She's putting up a fight, driver.
She's coming! She's coming!
Success! They've made molten iron. Or have they?
Scoop it in.
It quickly becomes clear that there's a problem. The metal isn't liquid enough to flow properly.
Not hot enough.
And there's a doubt about how much is actually metal and how much is just the molten impurities called slag. It's time to act fast. Colin reheats the mix in his portable furnace and adds a healthy dose of scrap metal to make absolutely sure there's enough molten iron produced to fill the mould.
We're getting close to temperature here now, so I'm going to need the mould down there.
Finally, Colin lifts the iron from his furnace and having scooped off the slag that's risen to the surface, it's over to Guy.
Right, pour away. Get in that hole.
You got to go out the spout, guy.
This time the molten iron looks perfect, but there's still a chance it could all go wrong.
That will cool over the next 12. No, it's still molten in there. You could have just let it come out the sides.
All they can do is wait for the metal to cool, to see if disturbing the securing weights has ruined the mould, and whether Jerry's iron has done the job. If it hasn't, 2 days' graft will have been wasted.
Dump the sand out of it.
The sand is removed, and success.
Want to see your pot, guys?
All right.
There you go, look, a complete pot. It's all there.
That's quite splendid, don't you reckon?
Well done, boss. Hey?
Can't,
So very much.
can't do it without them chaps.
Right, we've earned ourselves a brew, I reckon.
Gasping.
Back aboard Reckless, the boys put their new pot on the fire and then open their newly delivered Wedgwood-ish mugs.
That's for you.
Very much, yeah. Is that a reflection of me?
What do you reckon?
Small and broken. Oh, hang on, why is yours bigger than mine?
Well, I thought Maeve was a bit short and stumpy.
Right, boy. Let's have a brew on. I'm going to want 2 or 3 cups of tea, aren't I? To your 1. What kind of mix is that? Come on, let's get the kettle on.
James, the tea guru, probably didn't have this brewing technique in mind for his posh blend.
See, if that's looking a little bit... Let's have what the word is.
It looks like a cauldron of witch's brew. Are you ready?
Go on, go on.
That's
looking a bit...
off, isn't it?
That's looking a bit black. Are we clinking before or after, do you think?
I reckon clink before, because it might be the last clink we ever have.
Cheers, young man.
Cheers, brother, and thanks for the cup.
No worries. Hey up, Chief. I've had worse. That's not bad at all, really. At all.
But I'm a little bit gobsmacked.
Cheers.
Tell you what, Chief, it's all come together. The pot, the tea, the cups.
The cup maker especially, I think.
Me and thee, on a boat, in a canal, celebrating what's the finest and best of British.
Without a doubt.
Cheers.
Good work, young man.